Hi, everyone. Welcome to Life Edge, because life just doesn't have to be mediocre, and we don't want it to be. We want it to be more fun. Joining me today is the one and only Dr. Susan Nash. Hey, Susan, how are you?
I'm great, and I'm really glad that we have a guest, Larry Davis, because he's going to be talking about what happens in a town when Amazon distribution comes to play.
Interesting. I've read some things about that. It's almost like Walmart, isn't it? Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm curious. Here we go. And we are back, Susan.
Yes, so Dr. Davis, really fascinated by your topic today. We're interested in what happens when Amazon comes to play and why do people think it's a bad deal, and is it really a bad deal if Amazon distribution centers come to town?
But before we go there, Dr. Larry Davis, he's a professor at...
Sorry. Oh, I should have. Yes, Texas. I'm sorry. I should have introduced him. I'm assuming that all of our loyal viewers have seen Dr. Davis before. So Dr. Davis is a professor of economics and management at Texas A&M University, Texarkana, and he's part of the College of Business, Engineering, and Technology. Welcome.
That's it.
Okay, so what are your thoughts about e-commerce? Let's just start there, and then we'll jump into the exciting shark-filled waters.
Thinking about that, I thought about a little background. You know, electronic commerce is the phenomenon of generation, but I got to thinking back in previous generations, there was something called, I don't know if the term was coined, but in essence, it was distance commerce, and that was established several generations ago. And that's when we had the small communities, and there were no Walmarts and the little stores that they call them general stores or grocery stores or department stores or variety stores, but the merchandise there available was very limited. So they had at least three companies that tried to accommodate those deficiencies. Sears, Roebuck and Company, J.C. Penney, and Montgomery Ward. They had a good start by doing mail ordering. And, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, maybe not, but they had kind of like the old phone books that were huge before the electronic age. They'd send out these catalogs, and people would spend time in leisure, looking at catalogs or ordering things.
You know, Larry, that's a great point. I remember those as a kid. The big Sears Roebuck catalog. It was huge. And my parents loved it. For 2 weeks, they wouldn't hear me make any noise. I was writing my list to Santa of everything I wanted from those catalogs, part number. And literally, I'd send like 20 pages off, and they're going, kept him busy, kept him quiet. What a great catalog.
I was thinking, too, that was very inefficient to get things in today's e-commerce. I'm surprised I can order something and get it tomorrow or 2 days at most sometimes. But back then it would take 2 to 3 weeks because of the
But isn't it amazing how far we've come?
They would have to mail them in, and the mail was slower back then. And they didn't have any automated processing. It was all manual, fill the order. And then the shipping was slow. That was back before UPS and FedEx. And it just took a while. It was inefficient. So we fast forward to the generation that we have, and somehow there was introduction of the internet, and the electronic, 24-hour a day accessibility to merchandise ordering and paying for those orders, and it just changed the whole culture of things that surround us. And looking specifically at Amazon, this Joe Bezos, who started that in 1995. I didn't know this until I was doing some research. But Amazon started as an online book ordering business. They would businesses, they would process the orders manually.
Yeah.
And he said they would drive them in their vehicles down to the post office and mail them after they packaged. That was 1995. It's amazing how far along we have come since that time. And, but a couple of other amazing things. I'm a business professor teaching economics and management, and we're teaching entrepreneurship and management to students, to establish businesses, to run businesses and manage businesses. Bezos, for example, he was not a business major in college. He was a computer science and an electrical engineering major.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That probably gave him the expertise to do the technology and not make these warehouses so manual. It's fascinating to see the electronics and the distribution things in setting up the inventories and the merchandise that they have, and then when they're ordered, the electronic methods and the robotics that go around to pick up the orders and fill them and package them and get them ready to ship out. So it's pretty fascinating to me. Another thing that's amusing to me too, in a sense, that although the business started in 1995, the very next year, the research indicated that they had revenue of $15.7 million, and that's a pretty good return for an upstart business that hadn't been in business very long. I'd like to have that formula and come forth with some idea.
But if you remember with Bezos, the first 5-6 years he was running at a complete loss, and then they hassled him when they went public. So he goes, "Okay, fine, I'll make money." And he literally turned it around. It's like he knew how to do it. He just didn't care in the beginning. And then he turned it around and started becoming profitable. Interesting.
Yeah, when they went to, I think the research indicated that when he went public, he quickly raised about $54 million. So that gave him some good liquidity. The other interesting thing to me, when they started out selling books, they got phenomenal and expanded in 1998, adding music CDs. So it was books and music. And just consider how far they've come since that time. So moving forward till today, based upon, I guess success is based upon their innovation. I mean, the ideas where warehouses are not like they used to be. They're not manual, as I mentioned before, how automated that they are. And then also the focus on customer service. I ordered my daughter a pair of boots recently. They're too small. And we sent them back. They included in the order just anticipating that might happen. So they had a return postpaid sticker to ship them back, and did a reorder for a different size. And I expected it might take a week, and they had the other size back here in 3 days. And it's totally amazing. I don't know how they did that.
No, and if you order a lot from them and they know your history, they give you an instant credit. They don't even question it. They just give you a credit. You get it literally within that day or the next day. Here's your money back. It's like, wow.
Well, that's true. And I think when before you can turn in your return and the pre-printed thing, you go online and let them know, and then you give them the new size. So you turn that in, so they're actually sending it out the same day that you're sending that back. They don't wait to get it back.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's smart. It's amazing.
The thing of customer service too, I always have a curiosity. One of the things if I send something to you, for example, I would have a tracking number, and I'd like to see when it was delivered. Make sure it got there. It always would, but when I'm sending something to somebody, there's a curiosity. If somebody's sending me something, I like to have that tracking number to see when it might show up, and it's pretty efficient that way.
Have you seen the latest one they're doing?
They immediately provide those tracking numbers when they ship, but also that quick return exchange policy is liberal. And,
well, Larry, there's another thing they're doing which just shocked us the other day. We had just left the office. We had closed down, and within 15 minutes, somebody from I think their new shipping service delivered. We weren't in, so they left it at the door, took a picture of it, emailed us the picture to show, here it is by your door in this location, and sure enough, next morning there it was.
Well, the people who do that, those are the ones that are. It's like the Uber, because I know a person who drives for Amazon, because Amazon has a new distribution center in Oklahoma City,
right.
And basically use their own vehicles, etc. But she was telling me how complicated it is sometimes to find the places because of the addresses, but she takes a picture. And it's for her own protection.
Interesting. Now, here it's different. In LA, or at least where we are in Camarillo, they have probably 30 trucks in this area that they bought. So they have all these big trucks, Ryder trucks, and actually they have real trucks. I think they're Mercedes trucks now. And they do it all. So now they're Amazon employees now. So they started with the independents, but now they've gone to actual trucks. They're rolling it out countrywide or nationwide. It's pretty interesting. At first they were pretty awful on the delivery. Now they're getting better. So
yeah.
Well, that hurts FedEx and UPS, because remember they used to use FedEx and UPS, and so I mean I'm sure that they did the numbers and it's a cost savings, but what a man, that was a hit for FedEx, UPS, and
I still think FedEx and UPS are better.
They on the size of the community. They're probably establishing their distribution centers or deliver in the larger cities. They still use UPS and FedEx here in our community, 100,000 people.
So Larry, what happens when Amazon moves into an area?
A couple of things happen. I think in a broad sense, communities are always wanting to develop and bring business to the community. And there was a fiasco when they tried to move an office into New York. Dealing with the New York politics. They were griping and complaining because I think they were giving up something like $3 billion in incentives, tax incentives. Well, that's a lot of money. But then and they had all these protests, and I think they backed out of the deal. But they estimated they would get $27.5 billion in tax revenue in the combination of the state of New York and New York City. I mean, they must be nuts to not want them.
I know.
And, send them down to our area. We'll take them. So that's an impact of tax revenues that you would have. Another way to look at it, theoretically, by the way, they've got about 140 distribution centers and still building them. And I was talking to a guy the other day. He's in the construction business, steel business, and he said they used to build Walmarts, and now they're not building Walmarts; they're building Amazon distribution centers.
Interesting.
And that's showing a shift in the business. He did mention that when in Oklahoma City they were involved in providing the steel for that operation. Huh. But a hypothetical situation. I don't know how many they employed at warehouse, but let's say, for example, they moved in and employed 400 people. And I don't know how much they paid them, but let's say hypothetically they paid them $40,000 a year. Well, you do that multiplication, that's $16 million. That's a pretty good shot in the arm for an Oklahoma City. Or if they didn't have 400 employees, just 200. You cut that down to $8 million, and that's not to be snubbed. But the other part of it, those employees that move in or those that are there, when they have incomes, they get it, spend it. I mean, look at the vehicles that would be sold, the new houses that would be built, or the rental properties that would benefit. There's groceries, there's gasoline, there are all sorts of things to benefit the various merchants in a given location. But another significant thing that a lot of fail to consider is the economic multiplier. If a payroll is say $40 million, there's a multiplied impact of that, because if I get an extra $100, I go to Susan, she's benefited, and if she turns around and spends $80 with you, and then you get your $80, and then you spend the 50 of it someplace else, there's that multiple benefit that continues. And it's, not to get technical in the matter, but, they're like the marginal propensity to consume or save, the inclination to spend. I think in lower income areas, there's not that luxury of having a lot that can be saved. So I think the marginal propensity to spend or consume would probably be near 100% in some instances, in more affluent areas, and the higher that would be, the greater the multiplier. If you get in some more affluent areas, I mean, the multiplier would still be applicable, but the multiplier effect would be less. But
now, Larry, what do you think happened between Walmart, who did the same thing, in essence, when they built their stores and pretty much took over small towns, and Amazon doing the same thing. And now Walmart's complaining about Amazon doing what Walmart used to do. It's sort of funny how they're going after each other in a quote unquote free market economy. What's the impact? Was there any difference in impact from Walmart to what Amazon's doing?
I think Amazon has a better commitment to customer service and convenience. They have a couple of those massive Walmart stores in this area. I live on a border, I go in one on the Texas side, which is about 2 miles from where I live. I had to go in there. It's a mess to find a parking place. And then after you do that, you walk in there and maybe you go in the grocery aisle and you want to go buy, say, a filter for your lawnmower. It seemed like a 2-mile hike to get across there to do that. And then when you check out, they're doing conversion to a lot of self-service, and sometimes that doesn't work too well. And so it's pretty inconvenient. I do some online shopping too. It's pretty easy. I may be sitting here at 10 o'clock at night and order something, and wait 2 days it shows up. I don't have to worry about going to Walmart.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thought though. But here's one area that's different. So Amazon is brick and mortar, and so yes, you can now order. I mean, not Amazon, Walmart. You can order at Walmart and then go pick it up. They'll bundle it all up so you can just go through their drive-through. And they'll tell you how much time it takes. So you can get away from having to park so far.
They have a drive-through?
I think the big issue.
Yeah, that's a new concept that I haven't tried it yet. But Amazon.
Here's my question. So I have a good question for you, Larry. Okay.
All right, let's see.
So you talk about all the benefits. This is back to your earlier thing, benefits of Amazon. But how about the rest of people? They say, okay, you're bringing this to people are going to get some jobs, but they're going to put out of business all the little mom and pops, kind of like Walmart.
Well, that's the downside. In this area, Walmart put in mini stores in some of the small communities. Populations about 2,000 and 3,000, and they put the moms and pops out of business, and then they sold out to somebody else.
Oh, interesting.
So, it's still a bitterness, but Amazon must be doing something really great in the sense that that's electronic commerce and sales. They've got 49 in 2018. They had 49% of the market.
Yeah,
I think Walmart ranks probably fourth among those groups. They have 3.7% of the market. So it appears to me that Amazon probably has a broader variety of products, greater convenience to customers, but it's an ever-changing thing. It's dynamic. It's not, we can't sit here today and put the stamp on, well, here's the way it is forevermore. If they're dynamic, the Walmarts, the eBays, the Apples, the Costco's, the Sam's Clubs, they would be doing things to make adjustments to respond to the loss of sales because of electronic commerce.
Well, here's another thing too, though. Oh, sorry, just like one little quick point. Amazon is not; it's just an umbrella, and actually under that umbrella are lots of mom and pops, and people forget that because Amazon Marketplace actually keeps a lot of brick and mortar stores alive because they sell, especially their like used books or all kinds of things through Amazon.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Now, Susan, I thought that people were happy with Amazon because Jeff is sending personal photos to every customer, but I may be wrong.
Other people's naughty photos.
I still shake my head at that one, going, don't they ever learn?
That's the yeah. Oh my God.
I guess in summary, there's certainly pros and cons. There are pros and cons. I've got a friend in Brentwood, Tennessee. I've been to Nashville, but I'm not sure I've been to Brentwood. But one of my friend's son is running for commissioner, which is the same as city council. I was reading his platform, and they want to keep it. They want to keep the population density down. Have houses on at least a minimum of acre lots. That sounds kind of strange, but some communities want to attract, for example, maybe an Amazon warehouse or a warehouse for Lowe's or any other company. there are others. I think there was, I don't know if it was Seattle or where it was several years ago. They had this planned development. They didn't want any development. They liked it the way it was, and they said they wouldn't provide the infrastructure to accommodate a larger population. They didn't want to build the roads to accommodate, keep the roads small, and I guess congested to keep people from coming in and building. So there are different philosophies out there. Most chambers of commerce, talk about attracting business, but a lot of them don't know how to do it, and they get a lot of lip service.
It's funny, we were talking pre-show about California and how crazy we are. They don't care if we have freeways that nobody can actually move on. They just keep building. And it's like our freeways are just getting worse and worse and worse. When people say, my commute to work is about 2 weeks, they're not joking. It's mind-boggling. They're all parking lots in the morning and even afternoon, night. You never know when it's going to be actually available. And they don't seem to do any urban planning. It's just build some more. And sometimes in cities, they make you add a lane of traffic for just the streets. But freeways, no, they don't have any more room on the freeways. And we haven't really built too many new freeways in quite a while. And they're not all free. There's some pay roads, but nobody pays them because they're expensive. We got on one pay road in Newport Beach the other day. It was $8 to go 2.5 miles. I was going, $8 for, mind you, it was empty, but it was empty. But still, 3 miles, $2. Wow. Or $8. It was pretty crazy. But they are high tech. There's no tow people, nothing. They just take a picture of you, and if you don't pay for it within a week, they send you a big fine. So interesting.
Wow.
Well, we have a different problem here in Texas. I had a banquet one night this week. One of my students from 60 miles down the road, the night before, she was coming down Interstate 30 and hit a deer.
Oh.
Oh no! Wow.
Animals jumped.
Is she okay? Did it hurt her car?
Well, she didn't say the extent of it. It was dented up.
Now, Larry, in California, that's a hate crime. So just so you
Probably go to court, bring the deer in.
Yeah, save the deers. Yeah, it's interesting. Poor deer.
I know it's sad, but there's so many of them, and they are dangerous. I have a fear of deer at dusk and stuff. So another thing about the future, think about the robotics. I mean, in the warehouses, what is the role of humans with robots? What do you think, Larry? How do you deal with robots?
Maybe our traditional ways of teaching and educating and training needs to be adjusted to more than technical areas. So, somebody has to develop the robots and manage the robots and repair the robots and program the robots. So, the unambitious who want to, get some degree that's not in demand. There's a consequence to that. I guess we put them on Texas or California welfare. But
I think, another thing too is robots are expensive. So eventually they'll come back to needing humans because unless the price of robots really goes down a lot, and then they have the co-robots, all that stuff, the cobots, the people work with robots. But all that, that's super expensive, and with processes changing, it's never as efficient as people hope.
And the robots, if you think about it, they're just trained to do one or two things. They don't do anything else beyond that. They're assistants, really. They do things repetitively very well.
Yep.
And but and there's a lot of the AI stuff. A lot of banks and everything are trying to go to AI chatbots and everything. And Citibank just laid off 50% of its call centers to put in chatbots. Watch. I'll bet money that within 1 or 2 years they hire all the people back because people don't like them. The chatbots aren't smart enough. All they can do is recognize simple patterns, and when you go past the simple, it's over.
Yeah.
It's just over.
So, I don't know.
Larry's what is in the credit union? Larry's on the board of directors of a credit union. So, and your credit union, you guys use a lot of smart stuff, right?
Well, they have the ATMs where you could take your cards in there and, withdraw cash. And there's so much fraudulent stuff going on now that our credit union lost over $100,000. I mean, several $100,000. People got the fraudulent cards and made withdrawals and disappeared. We have a new system now. They're called ITMs, interactive. They're interactive things where it's kind of like a call center. Rather than having tellers at all the locations just standing around when there's no business, we have fewer tellers, and if they're a central location, they service. We've got 1, 2, 3, 6 or 8 different locations, and you go up there and you touch the screen, and the teller comes on, and you put in your identifying information, and you can make deposits, or you can make withdrawals, or carry on all sorts of transactions as though you were standing in the lobby. I haven't done any business in the lobby in probably 2 years.
That's amazing. Now, I can imagine, what does that do to the thief community? It just makes it really hard. They go up and say, can you give me your money? I'm pointing at a machine. It's just not the same.
I've laughed about that. They've had some robberies at banks here in the last couple of years, but I laugh about that, as you say, go point your gun at a screen. Of course, the IQs of some of the robbers are someone's probably going to try it one of these days.
Wow. Yeah, I think California is the bank robbery capital of the U.S., but that's what I heard. I don't know if we still are, but we were, 10, 20 years ago. It was a dubious honor. And,
that's terrible.
And I worked in banking here at one point, and you're right, we got a lot of robberies. It was common for, I don't know how it is, I haven't been to Texas in a while, at least probably 5 years. Here, it's hard to go to banks where you don't have this big, huge plastic sheet between the tellers and the people. You can't even see the tellers sometimes. And it's very impersonal, but some of the banks still don't do that. You can see them, and they haven't had a lot of robberies, but it's just one of those things that you just kind of wonder. But you're right. What you guys are doing with the distributed teller systems makes sense. The only problem everybody has is, when you go to a teller, I always tell people, don't go late at night. Don't do things where you're now going to be a victim. It just be safe.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. ATMs, all that.
The ATMs, yeah. Well, we are at the end of our time, believe it or not. That went fast.
Yeah.
Oh, I did.
Larry, will you come on again?
I sure will.
Yeah, we love having you on. It's been too long. Larry was on at show number 15.
That's amazing.
And it's been, I don't know what we're on. What number are we on now?
83?
83. You're right.
Yes, I got it right.
That's
Well,
good.
celebrate, maybe I'll do number 100.
Yeah. Well, you can celebrate our 100th anniversary. How's that?
It'll work.
That'll work.
Well, maybe it'll work. When is your 100th anniversary coming up? How long have you been in business? Since your fourth
let's
year?
see. Yeah, let's see. We've been in business 35 years.
I don't know if I can hang around that long now.
You're a youngster. You'll hang around.
We'll see.
Let's see.
Anyway, it's been fun visiting with y'all today.
Yeah, that was fun.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's something we can all relate to.
We're not still recording, are we?
No, well, we still are. So, bye, everyone.
We
We
are.
will see you next time. Have a good one.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And that's a wrap.